Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today, well, it's digging into a really fascinating puzzle, isn't it?
Hmm.
That connection, sometimes kind of tense, between who you are, your personal identity deep down, and who we are, this big idea of national identity.
Yeah, that tensions is everywhere.
Yeah.
Individual versus the group.
Exactly. Does figuring out your unique self make you feel less connected nationally, or maybe counterintuitively more?
Well, that's the core question, isn't it? And look, we see these debates constantly, but is that really how it works psychologically? This
Mhm.
deep dive, it's grounded in some serious academic work, a study that didn't just philosophize, they used advanced data modeling,
Ah, okay. So number crunching.
serious number crunching,
Yeah.
to actually measure how differentiating yourself personally interacts with that sense of belonging to the nation.
So we're stepping beyond just opinions today. We've got sources, actual data that seems to show pretty convincingly, I might add, that these two identities, personal and national, they aren't separate boxes fighting each other.
Not at all. The data suggests they're deeply mathematically linked. It's quite remarkable.
Mathematically linked. Okay.
Think of it like this. The researchers mapped out a theory, right? How these identities should connect.
Uh-huh.
Then they tested that map against the experiences of, well, thousands of actual people. And the fit, it was almost perfect.
Wow. Huh.
Which tells us we probably need to rethink this whole self versus society thing.
Okay, let's definitely unpack that. But before we get into just how strong those links are, maybe we should lay the groundwork. What are the basic identity concepts we're dealing with here?
Good idea. So the study anchors itself in understanding personal identity within our psychological lives. It references key thinkers, like Blasi.
Okay.
But the real engine, the theoretical core, comes from the classic work of Erik Erikson.
Erickson. Yeah, identity, youth in crisis, that whole framework about figuring yourself out across your lifespan.
Precisely. That's the foundation. And then the study gets more specific using James Marcia's work from the 80s.
Marcia. Right, he operationalized Erickson, didn't he? Made it measurable.
Exactly. And this is really key for your listening. Marcia looked at identity development along two main lines, or axes: exploration and commitment.
Exploration. That's the searching part. Trying things out.
Yeah, actively questioning, trying on different beliefs, different roles. And commitment is, well, it's landing somewhere, making choices about your values, your path.
So deciding this is who I am or this is what I believe.
Right. Like, a young person exploring different careers or maybe political ideas, that's exploration.
Mm-hmm.
When they decide, okay, I'm committing to this career path or this set of political values, that's commitment.
Got it.
And here's the clever part. The study applies this not just to personal stuff, but to national identity, too.
Oh, interesting. How?
Well, it asks, have you explored what it means to be, say, a citizen of your country? Have you thought about its values, its history? And then, are you committed to certain national values or your role as a citizen?
So it's not just waving a flag. It's about whether your national connection comes from a place of thought, of personal exploration, and actual commitment.
That's the nuance, exactly. And they also fold in other ideas, like identity having multiple dimensions. It's complex.
Right.
There's the structure, how it's organized, and the content, the actual beliefs you hold. I see you talked about that.
Okay.
Plus, you can't forget social identity, Jenkins' work, reminding us that who we are is always partly defined by who we aren't, by the groups we belong to or don't.
So a lot of moving parts, which I guess explains why they needed such a rigorous approach to study it.
Absolutely. You can't measure something this intricate with flimsy tools.
Which brings us nicely to the methodology. This is where it gets really solid, right? Tell us about the data pool. How robust was this?
Oh, incredibly robust. The approach was meticulous. Even before collecting data, they used statistics to figure out the minimum number of people they needed.
Okay, why do that?
To make sure the results weren't just, random chance. Statistical power, it's called.
You're right.
Their calculation pointed to needing around 1,300 participants.
Yeah.
Which is a really solid number for this kind of research.
1,300. Wow. That's serious rigor. And who were these people?
Mostly young adults. The average age was just over 21.
Ah, okay. Emerging adulthood. Makes sense.
Exactly. Researchers like Hardy point out this is a key time for identity work, right? Lots of exploration, lots of big commitments being made.
But it wasn't only 20-somethings, was it?
No. They were careful to get a broader picture. They included older groups, too. About 8% were in their 30s, and over 7% were 60 plus.
So they could see if these connections held up across different life stages.
Precisely. Not just looking at the crisis moment, but seeing the longer view, too.
Okay. One last check on the science before the big reveal. How reliable were their measurement tools, like the questionnaires?
Yeah, that's crucial. You need to know if the survey actually measures what it claims to measure.
Right.
The RAND tests, Cronbach's alpha is the technical term, and the scores were really high, like 0.897, 0.821, very close to perfect reliability.
So super consistent.
Extremely consistent. It basically means the scales they used to measure things like personal exploration or national commitment were stable and accurate. We can trust the measurements.
All right, so a solid theory from Erickson and Marcia, huge sample size calculated for power, reliable tools confirmed scientifically. Let's get to it. What did they find? Did personal and national identity actually, talk to each other in the data?
They absolutely did, and powerfully so.
Okay, because my gut instinct, and probably many people's, is that focusing on me, on being unique, must pull away from the we, the collective, doesn't it?
That's the common assumption, right? But the
Right.
data just flies in the face of it. Remember that theoretical map I mentioned?
Yeah, the model of how things should link up.
Well, when they tested that model against the data from those 1,300 people, the fit was extraordinary. The stats, the NFI, CFI, TLI, were all incredibly close to 1, which is basically perfect fit. And the error meter, RMSEA, was tiny, like
Yeah.
0.009.
Wow. So translating that from stat speak.
It means the theoretical structure, the idea that personal differentiation and national identity are linked in specific ways, was massively supported by what people actually reported. The theory matched reality incredibly well.
Okay, that level of fit is unusual, isn't it?
Highly unusual. It strongly suggests these aren't separate domains, but parts of an integrated system.
So what were the specific connections driving this? Where did they see the strongest links?
Okay, look at the correlations, how strongly two things move together.
Mm.
There's one huge positive correlation. The value was 0.776.
0.7, that's massive in social science. What was that between?
That suggests a really strong positive link. Basically, the more you engage in that process of personal exploration and commitment, truly defining your own values and beliefs, the stronger and more meaningful your connection to the nation tends to be.
Ooh, okay, hold on. So doing the work on yourself, figuring out who you are, that actually strengthens your national identity. It's not a trade-off.
It seems to be a foundation, not a trade-off. Personal depth appears to enable, or at least correlate very strongly with, national depth.
Mind blown a little bit here.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
profound. And it wasn't just that one correlation. They found multiple others above zero point 0.4, which is still considered very strong. So this positive link wasn't an isolated thing. It was widespread across different aspects of identity.
And did the more complex modeling, the path analysis, show that one actually predicts the other?
It did, yeah. The structural modeling confirmed direct pathways. And these weren't just marginal findings. They were significant at the 99% confidence level,
Meaning?
meaning we can be very, very confident these links aren't accidental. For instance, certain aspects of personal exploration were confirmed as statistically significant predictors of related aspects of national commitment.
So the effort you put into self-definition directly feeds into how you relate to the nation.
That's what the model strongly indicates, yes.
Mhm.
The work of becoming an individual seems critical for a psychologically healthy sense of belonging to the collective.
But wasn't there. I remember seeing a slight twist, a negative path, something pushing the other way.
Ah, yes, good catch. It wasn't all positive integration. That's where the nuance comes in.
Okay.
While the overwhelming picture was cohesion, the model did find one specific pathway that was statistically significant but negative.
Meaning what exactly?
It suggests that for one particular, very specific relationship between certain identity components, maybe a certain type of personal differentiation could slightly decrease the overall score on that national identity aspect.
So a small point of tension within the bigger picture of connection.
Exactly. It hints that while integration is the main story, there might be these subtle psychological points where carving out the I creates a little friction with the we. But again, the dominant finding, the big story, is definitely strong positive linkage and integration.
Okay. This really shifts the perspective, doesn't it? It's not just about balancing these two big identities, personal and national.
Yeah.
It sounds more like integrating them, making them work together as part of a whole self.
Precisely. And that need for integration, it goes beyond just the national sphere. The research landscape really emphasizes integrating your personal identity with other key parts of yourself, too.
Like what?
like your religious identity, your moral identity. Thinkers like Hardy and King stress how vital it is for a healthy, functional self that all these different domains are synthesized, that they work together.
And if they don't, if you have these sort of separate selves like work you, home you, online you, and they don't connect?
Well, the research suggests that fragmentation isn't great for psychological well-being. Studies consistently link a well-developed, integrated personal identity to better overall functioning. Swartz's work shows that.
Okay.
And similarly, research by folks like Davis and Seal shows that having a well-formed religious identity, for example, connects to better well-being, better social functioning.
So integration is key for mental health overall.
It seems to be. A fragmented identity is often an unstable or less functional one.
So, pulling it back to our topic, a strong sense of national belonging isn't just about external stuff like patriotism or politics. It's also potentially an internal sign.
A sign of psychological health, yeah. Built on that foundation of a solid, explored personal self.
It makes sense when you put it like that.
And remember, national identity itself isn't monolithic. As Aju talked about its structure and its content.
Right, more moving parts.
Exactly. Which just highlights how impressive it is that this study managed to model that complexity and find such clear, strong connections. They essentially showed that the commitment you make to your own life, your own values, is tied up with the strength of your connection to the national context you live in.
You can't really have a strong we without first developing a strong me.
That appears to be the message from this data. The individual journey is foundational to the collective connection. So to kind of wrap up the core finding for you, that deep link between seeking out your own distinctiveness, the exploration and commitment we talked about, and your sense of belonging nationally, it's not just theory. It's statistically proven, and it seems really crucial for, well, psychological integration.
Yeah.
The data really challenges that old assumption that the collective needs you to suppress your individuality. It suggests the opposite might be true.
Okay, so given how strong that model was, how well the theory fit the data, it leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought, doesn't it?
What's that?
Well, maybe that process of personal differentiation, the hard work of figuring out your unique self, maybe it isn't just helpful for having a healthy sense of national belonging. Maybe it's actually required psychologically.
Huh. Required, not just helpful.
Yeah. Could it be that you can't truly achieve a robust, meaningful connection to the we unless you've first done the work on the me?
That's definitely something to chew on.
Yeah.
A necessary prerequisite, perhaps?
Exactly. Something for you to think about until our next deep dive.